Hello, I'm Tony Trongone, Superintendent of Pemberton Township Schools, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Inside Outlook. Today we're going to talk about the innovative ways we provide support for the newest teachers on our staff. It all begins in August when we provide a 4-day comprehensive orientation program for every new employee. Then, as the school year gets underway, we provide our first-year teachers with additional training to support them as they navigate through their first year of teaching. Here to tell us about the elementary teacher training program is Jeff Havers, Assistant Superintendent for elementary pre-K through 5th grade, and 2 first-year teachers, Brielle Pearson and Angelica Puccio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you all here. And again, I'm really proud of the fact that, I'll start off really proud of the fact that you all come here and on your own time. So I'll start off with that. People need to know, first and foremost, this program is not part of your school day. Mm-hmm. And I want to congratulate you for your dedication and your service to the district, even in your first year. To the 2 new teachers and to you, Mr. Havers. So I'll start off with Mr. Havers, and can you start us off with what inspired you to create this program?
Well, I was inspired to create because teaching's hard. As you know, I taught for 13 years. We all go through an educational program. I went to a great program in Rowan, but I came out and there are many things that I learned, but many things that I didn't learn that I needed to be successful as a teacher. As a new principal, I wanted to kind of create a way to support new teachers, so I started out in a previous district, and we brought it here. So not only do we have a intensive new staff orientation in the summer that encompasses about 4 days, right? Mm-hmm. And now we have monthly meetings, and I get to meet with all our first-year teachers here at Pemberton. And part of it is to help them, assist them in this hard profession, but also make sure we model and talk about the way we do things here at Pemberton, what are our expectations here at Pemberton. And these monthly meetings are focused on the book, Teach Like a Champion. And we really go through them and dive into specific techniques. So we have a common language and common understanding, but also common strategies to use to improve instruction. So we do that monthly. I bring in other resources. We'll talk more in depth about parent-teacher conferences next month, but that's our process. And again, I just want to provide as much support as possible because it is a challenging job.
So you mentioned you meet once a month.
Yes.
And before school, after school?
I have two groups. I have a before school group, which is Angelica and Brielle are both a part of that group because they start later in the day, later in the morning in terms of their start time. And then I have an afternoon group for the schools that dismiss earlier. So I can try to make it as close to their daily schedule as possible because they are volunteering their time, so I want to try and make it as convenient for them as possible.
And does it involve more than just Teach Like a Champion, these sessions?
Yes. Like I said, sometimes I'll do an article about parent-teacher conferences. Sometimes I'll pull from another book. Sometimes I'll read a different types of other articles, and then we'll do that. Primarily it's Teach Like a Champion, but I try to pull other things in, especially something that pops up that's a pressing question for a teacher. I try to research it and bring something into the group.
All right, thank you. Brielle.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in this program and why you volunteered to come in on your own time to be a part of it?
So as a first-year teacher, I would say that I face a lot of struggles trying to acclimate to the school and get used to everything that Pemberton is all about. So it's very comforting to be among a like-minded group of people that are there to support you. And I always leave in the morning being like, I can take on my day because now I have these techniques that we looked over and we really dove into them on a deeper level. Mm-hmm. So it's just comforting. You have people there to support you and encourage you and help you determine what's best for your students.
So great. So it's good to have that camaraderie. You have people, even if they're not in the same building as you, mm-hmm. they're going through the same experience, what I'm getting from your response. So as far as parents in the community, there's content and pedagogy, so there's the content of what you want kids to know and be able to do. Mm-hmm. Then there's the pedagogy, the instructional strategies. As a first-year teacher, where's more of the way to, and then also classroom management, right? Mm-hmm. So there's 3 things. What's really, is for you as a first-year teacher, you're getting out of the program? Sorry to put my hand in front of your face.
I would say the thing that we've been focusing on the most in the beginning of the year is procedures. because without the procedures, it all just goes flat. So as
Okay.
long as you have a solid classroom management system, those other things will come in and it'll allow them to come in seamlessly. But without that management, maybe not so much.
I would wholeheartedly agree with you.
Yes.
So you provide that culture of consistency, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. Brielle, this is your first year teaching?
Yes.
And this is your 11th year in education. So you're getting a different perspective as far as what you're going to get out of it and what you're going to get out of it. So I'm going to go to Angelica and ask you, being a savvy 11th year teacher and you're a coach, what are the nuances you're getting out of this program? Because I think that as an educator, we always learn something new, right? Obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
But what are the little nuances you derive from this, knowing that you have that experience already?
Well, it's a great refresher to look back at all these techniques and what to use in the classroom to keep the students engaged in learning the curriculum.
Some aspects of education are very rudimentary, they're very basic. But then you go, I'll go to a workshop and I'll go, I never knew that before. So what are the aha moments you get when you're in these particular sessions? Are there any aha moments?
There are aha moments, and mostly it comes from listening to Mr. Haber's experiences and the experiences that we share at the table that actually happen in our classroom. So it's, oh, that's a way that I can incorporate this technique into my day in teaching. You know, and it doesn't really matter if you're a first-year teacher right out of college or you're teaching 10, 15 years. Just as we teach students every day, we need to learn something new every day, and it's a career where you're consistently growing as a teacher.
That's what I like to hear from our new teachers.
One of the things that excites me, Mr. Trincone, which I like when we have experienced teachers that are part of the first year group, is they do have different perspectives. We all have different perspectives and we can all learn from each other. And then in some cases, Angelica can be, again, part of that support system for her colleagues, right? Because it's somebody, we build up relationships in those meetings and we have more dialogue.
Yes.
And so they're part of that support mechanism to have somebody who's like them. Although Angelica's somebody who's like them, who's new to Pemberton, learning how things are done in Pemberton, but also has a different lens and different experience to add to that. So that is exciting.
That's great to know. To either of you, so I'm going to go back to Teach Like a Champion now. And so I guess I mentioned a little nuances. So the foundation for Teach Like a Champion is based on the fact that seemingly small, deliberate changes in a teacher's words and actions can produce dramatic improvements in student understanding. Do you feel the strategies have helped you in your classroom? And how?
I have. So one of the things that we spoke about this morning actually was like redoing things to aspire for excellence, not just like compliance. So a lot of the time in the beginning of the year with procedures, teachers find themselves like, okay, let's do it again, let's try that again, let's do it again. And when we come into the classroom, we're supposed to be at a voice level 0 at Denbo Elementary, and I'm sure at all the other elementary schools as well, just to show respect. If the children don't do that, I'm like, okay, let's go back outside, please. And they line up and they face forward and one head behind another, and I like, let's try that again. And they have to do it again. And I just did it last week. It's still happening in, the end of September, beginning of October. But I'll be doing things throughout the day and I'll be like, that was Teach Like a Champion. or like that technique was something we talked about. So it is very helpful.
All right, great.
Yeah.
Angelica, anything with you?
I completely agree with Brielle, and one thing that I have noticed that it helps to keep the children engaged and focused and on task. Any of these techniques in this book. It also promotes a positive learning environment where you praise each individual child in the class as a group for just anything that goes along with the classroom management or learning parts of the instruction throughout the day. So it's definitely been helpful.
Okay. And with that, I'm going to go to Mr. Havers now. I know we do teacher observations. So tell me how you incorporate something like Teach Like a Champion in because with teacher observations, it's in the spirit of improvement. We want our teachers to be the best teachers and always be on that pathway to excellence. So how do you incorporate the strategies in Teach Like a Champion in your observations of teachers?
That's a great question. So often when I'm observing and I'm looking at the evidence and I'm reflecting on that, I'll try and think, we look for ways to, what's going well in the classroom. We look for ways to make sure we signify that, signal that out in the observation component. But we also think about ways and strategies that we can do to improve. So if it's something that it's in the area of 3B, question and discussion techniques, I may be thinking about, techniques from Teach Like a Champion. I might be looking at turn and talks, how we can use turn talks to engage students.
And turn and talk is a strategy.
Right, turn and talk's a strategy. Cold call is another one. It's a great one for 3B.
Common language, right?
Right. So then I may ask, and even though many of the teachers, right, especially our veteran teachers, have maybe read turn and talk or they discussed it, right? There's a lot of nuances, and even in that one technique. So I then will ask a teacher to reread it, and then we'll discuss it again and look at it and try to think of ways that we can incorporate that more efficiently or more effectively in the classroom. So that's something that principals and I, supervisors, we talk about. We're not always going to use Teach Like a Champion. Sometimes there's other things that we can utilize, but it's also, again, it's part of that common language, and it's not just Jeff Havers saying, here, you can do this. It's Doug Lemov, it's research-based, and these are proven strategies to work.
Great. Last question for you, Mr. Havers. Obviously, we appreciate the support that you and Ms. Gianetti provide our new teachers here at the elementary level, Ms. Gianetti at the secondary level. But this program extends beyond first-year teachers.
Yes, I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I am very excited because my first year here, we did the first year teacher meetings. This is my fourth year. And then what we did is began to build that up. So then we added a second year. And the second year is 4 sessions. It's not once a month, but there's 4 sessions during the course of the year. 2 are math, 2 are ELA, and they are done with the supervisors, and they go over, again, nuances and greater detail into our curriculum and how to teach math and science and how to teach ELA. And then the year after that, we add a third year for third-year teachers so we can continue that support because, again, teaching's complex. The first year often just trying to survive. You're trying to stay right ahead of the book often, right? You're staying right ahead of the book. And now the second year, you get to dive deeper into the curriculum and ask some other questions, right? Because now you're out of survival mode. Now you're trying to continue to grow even further. Mm-hmm. And then in the third year, we have people like Mrs. Jenkins, people like Mrs. Hale, who meet with the teachers. Again, there's 4 different sessions. That goes over, Mrs. Jenkins will go over HIB. We'll talk about the Masonic model. We'll discuss those types of things. And then Mrs. Hale will talk about IEPs, accommodations, and modifications. Because again, there's a lot of complexities. There's a lot of things happening in your first year, so you're taking a lot of things in, but it's hard to embed everything properly. So we want to make sure we have those extra supports for our teachers. And I'm proud of that because I don't know of any other district, honestly, that does that.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here today and sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you for having us.
So that wraps up our program for today. We appreciate you joining us and hope you'll join us again for the next edition of Inside Outlook.